All right, so today we are starting our new unit. This is going to look at linear equations, linear stories, and they're all business related. Hopefully this is something you've seen before. So to start off, we have 4 scenarios. I want you to go ahead and pause the video and work through each of the 4 scenarios. You have space on your worksheet to work through all 4. So go ahead and do that, pause the video, and we just want to see what you know, so see what you can fill out. There's a couple questions, a table as well that you can have an opportunity to fill out. So I'm going to go ahead and let you pause the video and work through those. When you come back, we will go over what we've completed. All right, so hopefully you've had time to kind of peek into or try at least a couple of these scenarios. Let's go ahead and look at some. Scenario 1 says your business has $3,800 in a savings account. Every week you are doing $700 in sales. So if you notice where we begin, we're going to begin here with $3,800 because you have that in a savings account. How does it move every week? We're doing $700 in sales. That's why this number is plus or a positive. And then our table at week 0, before we made anything, we already had that money in our savings account. And then each time after that, we are just adding 700 onto it and counting by ones because we're talking about every week there. All right, if we want to jump into our second scenario, it says your business had to take out a startup loan of $5,000. You aren't too worried though, because every day you have orders coming in that average about $56 in profit. Again, you have a startup loan. You have to borrow that money. That's why this number is negative. But you notice that $56 in profit, which means this is going to be a positive. Again, before we start making money, we're at day 0. We're in the negative $5,000. We're going to add 56, so this number will actually be trending in the positive direction. We're still negative, but it will be trending in the positive direction. Excuse me. All right, scenario 3. Excuse me again. Your business was given a $7,500 grant. The issue is your expenses are still more than your revenue, and each month you are losing $1,200. So we have a grant. Again, that's money just kind of given to you. You don't have to pay that back. That's why this is in the positive. But we are losing $1,200, makes this number negative. So again, we start out with $7,500. Each time we are subtracting $1,200 from that total, and that's every month. So we have money in months. Last but not least, scenario 4. Your business is in debt $2,700. It's not terrible, but every 2 weeks you're only making $60. So we are in debt. Sorry for the bell. We are in debt $2,700. That's why this number is negative. And then we have every 2 weeks we are making $60. So we're making the money over the time. And like Ms. Whitaker wrote it here, we can reduce that to 30. So here we're going to count by ones since we reduced it to 30. That's each week. And then here we would add by 30 as well. So plus 30 plus 30. And that's how we got that answer. So again, we just wanted you to try those on your own, see where we're at. Now we'll go through some stuff together. I'll do an example and some kind of terms, and then I'll give you time to work on some more scenarios. So when we talk about, if you notice, if you skip down and look at the practice, we have what we started with was how does everything begin and how does everything move? And those are real world terms that we use. So we have begin, and this is on your note sheet, and move. And in algebra, we have more mathy terms for those. Y-intercept is our beginning point. So we have y-intercept for begin. So where does it start? We call that our y-intercept. And how does it move? We call that our slope. So we have y-intercept and slope. And then we have a fancy equation that we like to use is y equals mx plus b. If we think about it, our slope is our m, or our movement. So there's our m. And our b is our beginning point, or our y-intercept. And that's where that goes. Again, the x always stays there. Slope is always next to x. And that is our whole equation. So go ahead and take a minute. If you didn't get this down, pause the video, get these down, and then we'll move on from there. All right, so let's go ahead and look at an example together before I turn you loose, now that we have some information, or we're going to get some information and see what we can do from there. So it says you have a loan of $8,300 to pay off. Every 2 months, you are making $645. So again, I have to answer those kind of 2 to 3 questions and then make a table. So you have a loan of $8,300 to pay. That's my starting point. I know I'm in debt $8,300 because I have to pay that off. What is my slope? Well, I see every 2 months I am making, so we're going to be in the positive, $645. So I know I'm $645 every 2 months. And I'm going to pull up my calculator real quick and see if that simplifies. So 645 divided by 2, 645 divided by 2 equals. And I get a decimal, so I'm going to keep it as 645 divided by 2. And my linear equation, remember we have y equals mx plus b. M being my slope, so 645 over 2x plus, and then my y-intercept. So we know this isn't going to be a plus. It's going to be a negative 8300. Sorry, my eraser isn't working, so I'm just going to have to scratch that out. And again, now we can fill in our table. We always start with our y-intercept, and it's always next to 0. And we're going to write our y-intercept as a point, 8300. That's how we need to write it. 8300. And then we will go ahead and we will add 645 onto that. And we will add by 2's on this side since we did not reduce. So 2, 4, 6. So I have 8300 plus 645 equals negative 7,655. Plus 645 equals negative 7,010 plus 645 equals negative 6,365. So I just continued that pattern of adding 645 to the previous answer. And again, we write our y-intercept as a point. Sorry about that. So we should have 0, comma, negative 8,300. Our slope is usually going to be a fraction. We put it all together. It's going to be next to x. And then because this number is negative, we put minus. And that's our example. So if you look on your paper, that is kind of our second line there. Excuse for the bell again. That's kind of our second line. So now we have scenario 5, 6, 7, and 8. I want you to work through those. And again, read the questions carefully. Some of the questions are mixed up, whether we're asking for the y-intercept or the slope first. So make sure you read through those carefully and take time, pause the video on this slide so you can read each of the scenarios and go through and fill out each one. We'll talk about each one after. All right, so hopefully by now you've worked through those 4 scenarios. You've taken the time to pause the video, work through scenario 5 through 8. Let's jump to what we figured out for 5 through 8. So scenario 5 says your business has $5,400 in a savings account. However, each month your expenses are more than your revenue, and you are losing $400. So I see losing $400, and we have $5,400 in a savings account. Savings account means I have the money, so I'm going to have 0, and that's going to be a positive 5,400. Each month we're losing, so I know it's going to be over 1, which just simplifies to negative 400. My equation, y equals negative 400x. We have a positive, so plus 540. To fill out my table, 5,400. I'm adding by 1. I'm subtracting by 400. So I have 1, 2, 3. And on my other side, I have 5,000. 4,600 and 4,200. And that will complete my table there. For scenario 6, it says your business has to take out a startup loan of $3,500. So take out a startup loan of $3,000. You aren't too worried though, because every 4 days you're making $100. So my y-intercept, I'm gonna have 0, comma, and we had to take out a loan, so I'm gonna have to pay that back. So negative 3,500. My slope, $100 every 4 days. If I divide that, 100 divided by 4 gets me 25. So my linear equation is y equals y equals 100 over 4 x minus 3,500, or y equals 25x minus 3,500 when simplified. I'm going to go ahead and use this when simplified equation. So I'm going to have 0, negative 3, 5, 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, because I have simplified it. 3,500, I have a negative, and I'm going to add 25 each time. So negative 3,475, negative 3,450, negative 3,425. So that's counting by days, or you could do every 4 days. So these numbers would change and you would use that equation. I circled the one I used because I simplified the equation, or the slope, sorry. On to scenario 7. Your business was given a $4,500 donation to start up. So we have a donation to start up. The issue is your expenses are still more than your revenue, and every 2 weeks you are losing $555. This first one asks for our slope. So our slope, how are we changing? We are losing $555 every 2 weeks. If I divide that, I do get a decimal, a fraction. It's going to stay like that. My y-intercept, I got a donation, so it's going to be a positive, and I have y equals negative 555 over 2x plus 4,500. Again, we'll start with our y-intercept. So 0, 4,500. This time we're counting by 2's because our 2's on the bottom. So 2, 4, 6. And I'll start with 4,500. I'll simply subtract 555. So 3,945. 3,390. 2,835. So there was scenario 7. And then scenario 8, your business is in debt $1,600. It's not terrible, but every 3 months you're only making $80. Again, my slope, I have every 3 months and $80. So I have 80 over 3. And again, that gets me another decimal, so I'm going to leave it as that. My y-intercept, I'm in debt. So I'm 0, comma, negative 1,600. My linear equation, y equals 80 over 3x minus 1,600. Again, I start with my y-intercept, so I have 0, negative 1,600. This time I'm counting by 3's, and I'm adding by 80. So 3, 6, 9. I'm starting in the negative, so I'm going to have to add by 80. Negative 1,520. Negative 1,440. 1,440 negative plus 80 equals negative 1,360. So that completes scenario 5 through 8. Hopefully we got a grasp on that. If not, I work through those. And you can see some correlations. So remember, our slope is always next to x in our equation. Our y-intercept is always out back, and then we look at our sign to see if it's positive or negative. We always write our y-intercept as a point. So if you move down on your worksheet, it says, can you make a business scenario? So what that's going to look like is, can you pull from the equation? I will go ahead and do the first one, and then I want you to go ahead and do the next 4. And then we won't worry about writing a business scenario this time around. We'll focus on that later. So again, what is the slope? I know the slope is always next to x, and in this case, it's negative 500 or negative 500 over 1. You can write it either way. My y-intercept does not have x, and we have to look at the sign above it, so I know my y-intercept is 0, 7,800. We always write that as a point. So there's your first example. I looked at my slope. I found my y-intercept. Now, can you do the rest on your own? So go ahead and pause that video, and then after you pause it, unpause it, and I will display the answers. All right, so hopefully you've had time to fill out the rest of those 3. Let's go ahead and fly through these real quick. 350 over 3, that's with x, and 0, 500. Again, y-intercept on this one, 0, negative 300. I need to look at the sign in front of that, and we have negative 75 over 4. My y-intercept for this last one is 0, negative 80. And then my slope, 2500. So again, if you just remember, slope is always next to x, and then for y-intercept, we write it as a point, and we look at the sign in front to tell if it's positive or negative. Pulling from an equation gets pretty easy. The last step in this process is, can we do that from a table? So now we give you a table, and we just have to figure out what's our slope, what's our y-intercept. Okay? Y-intercept, remember, is always across, from 0. So if we look at our weeks column, we need to find a 0. In this case, we have one, which is here. So I'm going to go ahead and look. Okay, so I know my y-intercept is 0, 7,000. Now I have to find a pattern. In that pattern, I have to look at what we're changing by. So in this case, I'm adding by 2. By 2, by 2. I could continue this if I wanted to. So 6 plus 2 would be 8. And I have to look on this side, 7,000. And then I also have 6,300 is the next number. So I need to find, how would I get from 7,000 to 6,300? I'm counting down, so I know I'm subtracting. In this case, I'm subtracting by 700. And then I'll just double check. Okay, that works out. I'm subtracting by 700. Again, I could continue this number. So I could have 4,900, and I could subtract 700 from that, and it would get me 4,200. So again, I could keep continuing this table. Let's see, 10... 3,500, and so on and so on. I can also work the other way. So if I wanted to, I could go into the negative weeks, and I would add if I'm going up. So this would be 7,700. Sometimes we'll have to do that to find a y-intercept if we don't have a 0. So like on the next one, I want you to try that one. We will have to continue our table. So if you notice, we have plus 1, plus 1, plus 1, and continuing on. We're going to have to work backwards. So if I fill in, okay, that's minus 1, what would my next spot be? And then how would I do that again this way? So if I'm adding 500 every time, if I go backwards, I would have to subtract 500. So I have negative 5500. What would my next spot be? That's going to be my y-intercept. And then my slope is minus 500 over 1. So go ahead and see if you can find that y-intercept. Go ahead and fill that in. Pause the video, fill that in, and we'll take a look. Hopefully by now you caught on to the pattern. So we have 0, and if this, we're going to go ahead and add 5 or subtract 500. So we'll have negative 6,000 as our y-intercept. And again, I was just asking for y-intercept and slope. So again, this is the intro to the linear. If you have any questions, please email myself, zachary.cornell@nkcschools.org, or Mrs. Whitaker, or Miss Whitaker. You can get her email through Canvas. Please reach out if you have any questions or want to work through some additional problems.